Happy New Year, Coyote artists! So, starting in 2021, we're going to take a look at maps and then create some original maps. We're going to learn the history of cartography, and then I have a story for you today. So, let's get started. Okay, so my heart is a compass. Map art, or also maps are also known as cartography. First, we're going to take a look at an artist. This is Paula Scher, and she is a graphic artist, but she also creates these really intricate maps. And you can see some of her map art behind her there, and then also this whole world map. And she does travel quite a bit around the world as a graphic artist. And then she started doing these maps with all these words. And you can't see because they're so small, but these are all the elevations, like how high up different countries are from the tallest elevation, that is, Mount Everest, to the lowest, which is all the different islands at sea level. And then over here, you can see she's in front of a map of the United States. And this is just something that she came up from her own imagination of all of these different highways and freeways that go across the country. And then she put in some major cities. And even still, she has more writing in the background of each state and even in the oceans and the Gulf of Mexico. So if you want to take a look at her artwork, there are some really cool maps that she has done. So the history of maps. So let's talk about the history of maps by going to this website. And there's lots of different facts about maps. So the map that was on that page was actually from 1482 by Johann Schneitzer, who was an engraver, and he made this map based on another person called Ptolemy and his geography, and he was actually from the Roman times. So there's been lots of different maps, starting with the earliest known map, which some will debate was actually written on a cave wall. And then you have other known maps of the ancient world called the Minoan, or the House of the Admiral, which was a wall painting from 1600 BCE, which shows a seaside community. Then you also have an engraved map of Babylon City, and it shows Babylon and the river of Euphrates surrounded by a landmass of Assyria. So you have lots of different maps, starting with some really old maps in different times. And then you have some cartography included the North Star and other constellations, so a map of the sky. And then right about the Middle Ages, you have people who are actually trying to do maps of the world, of the known countries. And some people took some very creative licenses with showing actual land masses. So here you can see that this is called Europa Regina, um, and it was done in 1570, and it's in the shape of the Pope. So they took some creative license with that. So in cartography or map making, you have some new technology coming out in different times, with the invention of the compass. People could explore more, and then of course document more things on their maps. Then you have something called the printing press that can make copies and copies of the maps for captains of ships that are sailing around the world. So they're using compasses. Now they have a copy of a map, and they're using telescopes, and they're able to chart the stars and use North Star or the sun to help them map out the different parts of the islands and the oceans. So now we have all sorts of cool technology, satellites and computers that can show us aerial maps. We can see things like coastlines and roads and buildings and all sorts of different topography. So with different maps, you have different things that you can see. So you can see roads and little pathways and buildings right here. And then you can see a typographic map. And a typographic map will show a description of the place. So it shows the elevation, the terrain, or the mountains and waterways. And then you have a relief map, and that shows even more detail of the mountain ranges and rivers. So map design can be all sorts of different purposes and information. So if you want to know about map symbology, then you probably need to check out what's called the legend or key. And that will explain the map's pictorial language, like what you're actually looking at. A title indicates the region and perhaps the theme that the map portrays. And a neat line is the line that goes around the map. Gives you like a border so you can actually see the section that you're trying to focus on. And then a compass rose or north arrow provides orientation like north, south, east, and west. An overview map gives a global context for a primary map. So if you wanted to show an overview map of the United States, but then focus on Texas, maybe. A bar scale translates between map measurements and real distances. So if you see a line, so right here is a bar that shows how long a certain distance is, and then you can use this bar scale to see how far it is from one end of Easter Island to the other end of Easter Island using this bar scale. Then you also have a map projection provides a way to represent the curved surface on a map. So for our purposes, then you also might want to think about map coloring, like coloring all the states a certain color, or coloring all the mountains a certain color, and then the oceans a certain color. Okay, so think about what you want to add to your map. Now I want to read to you My Heart is a Compass by Deborah Marciero. And it's a great little story about this little girl who wants to go on an adventure to find something to show for show and tell. And in the process, she makes all these really cool maps. All right, so here we go. Rose longed to be an explorer, a pioneer, a trailblazer. Her heart was set on discovering something that had never been found. To bring to show and tell. She had one problem. She didn't know what it was or where to find it. It could have been anything. Something exotic. Something magical. Did it even exist? Where would she find such a thing? For that, she needed a map, not an atlas or a globe. To find the secret coordinates, she would have to draw her own map. As she sketched and scaled, Rose's hands quivered, her lines wiggled and shimmied off the page. Her imagination became a blueprint, with her heart a compass. She scooted off. Here is her road map. At the beach, Rose saw plenty of seashells, sea stars, shells, and gulls, but there was no treasure to be found. So Rose charted the sky and launched into the cosmos. Here is her sky map. Although the atmosphere was full of adventure, shooting stars, and billowing northern lights, Rose parachuted to an island still empty-handed. So she mapped out the ocean and set sail. Here is her ocean map. Rose found harbor in a city where skyscrapers mirrored every cloud and rainbow, and there was no rare jewel to behold. So she plotted train tracks into the mountains. Where she stepped off at the very last stop. As the low sun painted the end of another day, Rose knew she must return home with nothing in her pockets. Nothing to show, nothing to tell. She found herself in the same place she began. Rose, there you are. The next day in class, when Rose's turn came, her stomach sank, and then she shared her story of searching far and wide, high and low, and returning empty-handed. The class was silent. Then, spectacular, rare, amazing, brave, sublime, magic, wow, a fairy tale, beautiful, ah, Rose looked around the room and finally saw it too. She had found something no one had ever seen or heard before. It was more than the world. It was everything she imagined, and she felt like an explorer, a pioneer, a trailblazer. And everyone she had who had the chance to hear Rose's tale did too. Where would you go? And everyone's making maps. So, friends, I hope you liked that story, My Heart is a Compass by Deborah Marcero. And I didn't go over each map during the story, but there are some really cool details that Rose put into her maps that are so fun. So, like she did the tiger lily savanna, and she also included some other fun details in her maps. So, you might want to pause my video in certain times to look at the maps and see all the things that she included, because there's just lots of really fun, cool little details like Blue Moon Lake with Wolf Hill and sunny days, shoe sign and Half Moon Inn, and then an aquarium, a music school, scooter repair. And then she also made up names for her roads like Starry Night and Forest Ocean Avenue. So take a look if you can. I tried to show like the whole map when I was reading so that you can go back and see some really fun details. Um, the the sky map is really fun because it's got things like airmail and the cumulus clouds, but like empty thoughts in the first lines of poems. And then, of course, like meteor shower and a satellite, but fun things that you would probably not see in a real map. And I like that her compass rose is actually showing up instead of north. So, um, also, you want to check out her legend for her map so that you can actually tell what you're looking at, like her path, the layers of the sky, and the aurora borealis or the northern lights. And then, of course, X marks her destination. So if you get a chance, go back to my video and you can see the details of her maps. So speaking of maps, you're going to create a map. Use art materials to create a map as art. You can draw, paint, maybe you want to sew a map out of fabric or make a 3D sculptural map. A map can be of anything, a room, a house, a neighborhood, a country, or the world, real or imaginary. You can also like map out your year. Like, where do you see you going this year? You can map out your brain, or maybe something that you want to do in your lifetime. Like, what do you see as you grow up? Where you're going to travel? What are you going to do? What are you going to make a career of, or go to college, or have kids? Oh my gosh! Or when, how far into the future do you see your life? And then, what should your map include? Think about adding a title for your map so that we know what we're looking at. A compass rose that shows north, south, east, or west. Or, you can be creative like Rose. Instead of north, it say up, or maybe you can say ceiling, floor, wall to wall. So you can be creative with your compass rose. A legend that tells us the symbols on your map and what the symbols are, or a bar scale to show, like, if you're going to go up into space, how many thousands of feet are we going up, or light years are we going up? So the distance on the bar scale is also up to you. And then I was going to share the map that I was creating. So I was inspired by this story as well. And I'm making a map of the art room. So I have the art tables where you guys sit. I've got my desk right here. The Shark Tank, of course, the place where broken crayons are, and the Drawington or the Drawing Center. I have my collage town and the paint land. Of course, my sink monster and the paper island. Of course, the volcano oven or the kiln, and then the door that leads off to the labyrinth and the rock garden. You know, the library is over here with books and stuff. And then Sculptureville, where all the sculptural materials are. And then I've got stuff, and I've got more stuff. And there's the Promethean board. So I do need to add a legend to tell what you're looking at. And then, of course, maybe some color would be good for an art room map. So, friends, I can't wait to see what kind of map that you come up with. I just hope that you be creative and that you have fun. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.